Okay, my last video I talked about basic SOP for people on the ground when they see something going on in their area, and the idea of networking it between that buddy team and a base station, somebody back there with a CB radio, to network it throughout other people. Now I'm going to talk about how these base stations would be networked. For the example, I'm going to use a suburban neighborhood. You're going to see little clips of this in maps and words and stuff popping up in between these little segments of me talking. So, shall we examine? Now, like I said, each individual person, each individual home, whether it's made up of a family unit or a couple of guys who just got together and formed their own mag, neighbors, whatever, these people are responsible for their own security. So they're going to be patrolling their own areas. They're going to be watching out for things, maintaining their own security, regardless of what the without rule, the event which created a without rule of law scenario applies. Regardless of that event, these people are going to be protecting themselves. They're going to be maintaining their own security. Simply having a network does not remove you from the idea of having to protect yourself. It simply gives you a early warning system in place for yourself and others along those lines. Okay, now this is where uniform reporting comes in. This is why the need for the salute report and the after action report, because this gives you a way to compare that information. In the scenario mentioned, a person in my network, Bob, sent me some info. I'm going to compare it with info I have from other people in my network, things I've seen on my own. That information, that comparative example, are all going to be put down side by side. And a narrative is going to be made up, but those individual reports are going to be included when I pass this information along to others in my network. This way, they know, this guy in my network they've never met that I know as, Bob 1.0, or whatever little screen name or handle he wants to use. Uh, Sent me this information, and this is information I've collected from other people, including people who might actually be in my network, who know each other or have some familiarity with each other, even if just through me. I'm going to collect this information. I'm going to pass this along to them, and it's going to be in this universal format, or in this solid format where everyone is reading off the same list, has the same SOP. So this gives them something to compare their data with and me to compare my data with in a very fast, expedient manner. Not trying to sort through how someone else describes what happened to them. All right, now here we get to examine where all of Bob's information came from, where his salute report came from. This way, people who are away from Bob are giving him information. The people with the relevant information, you're not going to include every little scrap of information, but the people with the relevant information to the situation, their salute report will be included. On top of this, any information that Bob has learned firsthand or heard from other people in his network will be included. This includes from me. So, my situation report about seeing some guys hanging out in an area, and somebody else's salute report about seeing guys hanging out in the area, and somebody else's report about seeing these same guy, or a description of people matching the same two reports as me and someone else. Uh, you know, breaking in the cars or whatever can all be put together, especially if it comes down from a relevant location in that area. If they're breaking into somewhere outside that area, we might have a basic idea of where their area is that they're operating from, their base location, based on the other two reports of myself and someone else. So these situation reports are going to be put together. They're going to be put together based on the situation. and it's coming from a lot of people, including me, and information in my network. Information passed to Bob from me might include information from someone else in my network that no one else in that Bob and no one else in his network has had any experience with or know anything about. So they're going to be getting information from other people that they might not even know that's in their network. Uh, this is the reason why names, handles, call signs, code names, whatever you want to put it, they're referred to as handles for people on the CV, avatars or whatever, screen names or whatever for people on the internet. Basically a name that you're going to use for the purpose of communication. Uh, it, that's why those names need to be included in those reports, and an after action report included with the salute report. This way, all this information can be put together, and we can see how certain people deal with certain things, uh, and how certain actions might have affected other actions down the road, which goes back to what I said in the first video, talking about how if you react to people in an aggressive manner, they're going to react to you in an aggressive manner. So the idea is to be cordial and diplomatic until they give you a reason to act aggressively. And then when you do act aggressively, do so decisively. Um, but in this case, we're able to see how the information is all funneling to Bob from different sources, and then it's coming back to me, and then funneling from me into different units and different situations. Now, if you notice in that last image, a lot of the same people that was getting information to Bob that got to me, that was going through my network, was going to other little base stations, going through their little networks to other little base stations. Some of these are the same base stations being hit from Bob and then from a network adjacent to mine. That's going to happen. That's why people giving names, dates, locations, times, all this is important, because you might come across, 4 or 5 different reports coming at you from the same event from different little sections of your network. And this is really similar to how, uh, and this is actually what you would call human intelligence. This is very similar to how gossip is spread. Now, the idea is that while you're collecting human intelligence, while you're getting this information, you're also putting this information out to other people. And the idea of collecting this information isn't to have yourself bogged down with files and everything else, but the idea of collecting this information is to have a basic idea. You can put a map up on the wall, much like I put the maps on the screens, and show where your little nodes are. And then the areas of your little nodes, you can coordinate and get information from them, and from their little nodes it can do the same thing. And then all in all, as you work, you can have this giant overlapping network that you might not even be aware of. Well, this is how a lot of rumors and lies and stuff like that get spread. This happens more so in with the internet, because the internet's basically nothing more than the local hangout for everyone. It's just a more a hangout at your house so everybody can sit there and pass along information, and it's great in that way. But when you start passing along false information, rumors, talking about who's dating so and so, or who's doing what with so and so, or anything of that nature, you basically compromise any intelligence network you have, because you've now instituted gossip and drama. So the idea of an intelligence network should be purely based on the idea of passing along relevant information. If you guys want to hang out and have a cookout or whatever, that's fine. But you shouldn't use your intelligence network to spread information along those lines. So either you need to keep a clear distinction between friend and asset, or you need to either be only one or the other, a friend or an asset. If you're an intelligence asset and you're letting friendship get in the way of collecting information and judging a person based on your friendship with them and not how credible their information is, problems come up. If you can do both, do both. Some people can't. So sometimes for a person who can do both, like me, I can have a friend and I can still treat them as an asset for gathering intelligence. At the same time that I can do this, and I can differentiate between the two distinct things, uh, At the same time, I have other people around me who can't do that. So I have to make that distinction very clear about them being my friend or them being someone that is part of a scheme or a network for me to get out and to gather intelligence and to work with people. Um, that that has to be something you have to deal with on your own. But it's real easy to see how friendship, gossip, things of that nature can compromise the human intelligence system. It's kind of like that game that that we all played in school about the Chinese telephone. You know, you say something in one person's ear, you whisper something in one person's ear, and then they whisper it into another person's ear, and it goes around the circle. And what might start off as "I like Doritos" uh, might come back as you know, uh, I want to blow up City Hall, simply because someone else has heard something and hasn't completely applied it. This is why you need to be clear, concise, and all business when you're dealing with this intelligence stuff. Even if you're talking about security networks for protecting your neighborhood, neighborhood watch, or something of that nature for protecting yourself and observing your environment, you need to make clear distinctions, and you need to do everything in a uniform, concise manner, if you will, an almost military or paramilitary manner. Which is why the whole concept of this networking comes back to the idea of individual skills, individual abilities, individual SOP. The idea of having two people there, two sets of eyes on something, two sets of ears listening to something. Because one person might not see something the other person does, and if you can put those two reports together and compare that information, you might be good. For some people, we're not all going to have militia type organizations to protect us. This is where it comes into your base station might be your teenage daughter or your wife. Uh, it might be you and your son out patrolling the neighborhood, observing things and checking on things to protect your family. Uh, it might just be you out by yourself doing this with one of your neighbors because you don't have any kids, and it's just you and your wife, or your wife, or your neighbor's wife or girlfriend or whatever, manning the base station. Uh, nothing is going to be concrete, written in stone. Everything is going to adapt and manifest as it does. All I'm giving you is basically a structured formula for applying it. You can call it however you want. You can call it intelligence. You can call it information. You can call it gossip. You can call it rumors. But the idea is to keep relevant information relevant to your security, in a very professional and business-like manner, so that you don't compromise it with ego or people trying to exaggerate things or anything of that nature. You don't have to go out and play the hero in a real life situation. And in fact, playing the hero is bad, because when you start playing into that hero and trying to be the brave one, you're not getting intelligence, and you're not warning people about possible dangers. You're running out and engaging a threat, and you might not know everything about that threat. What you think is, um, three or four guys casing the neighborhood could just be a scouting element for a larger group, uh, or it could just be 3 to 5 guys, casing the neighborhood, or it could just be 3 to 5 guys walking down the street, who all happen to hang out together and dress kind of alike, and for whatever reason, they're walking down the street together. Maybe they're afraid of crime, or maybe they're worried about the situation because it's a without rule of law scenario. So, you can't just jump to you just can't just jump in and say, oh well, that's the mutant outlaw biker zombie gang member that's here to uh, come and kill me and all this other stuff. Maybe it's just a couple guys walking down the street. Maybe they're a couple houses up. They just moved in the neighborhood before the shit hit the fan, and now they're trying to figure out what's going on and get a lay for the land and everything else. This is where being diplomatic, talking to people, keeping in that intelligence field. You don't want to necessarily bring them into your intelligence network until you can trust them and fill them out a little bit. But once you've done that, they can become an asset to you. And of course, you're going to bring a lot more to the table that's going to make you an asset to them. But either way, they might be working with another little node in your intelligence network and not even know it. So they might be picking up information from two or three different bubbles. And if they're getting conflicting information from allegedly the same person in your bubble or in your little network, then that might be something to look into, to let you know that your network isn't as acting as professionally, or isn't as well established as you think it is.